Hello and welcome to another episode of Reece's Reviews, brought to you by My Geek Culture. Thank you for joining us on this precious of days. This is a solo recording. Yes, it's a solo. I am not joined by the legend of my co-host Matthew Fulton. I am running solo, so this episode won't be as long, but hopefully will still be just as fantastic and enjoyable for your listening ears on this bright day that you are listening to this podcast. Today I'm going through a few things. I've got a few things to review. I've got 2 films, a series, and a couple of Entertainment Honourable Mentions. The new segment of our podcast where we're delving into the entertainment zeitgeist and letting you know about certain things that have been released or certain things that have been noted on by the things in Hollywood and giving our 2 cents about them. So going into this episode, I'm going to start off with the Entertainment Honourable Mentions, kind of flip things on its side. The last few episodes we've been doing the Honourable Mentions at the end of the podcast, but we're going to start them off in the beginning of this one. So now we're going to delve into the Entertainment Honourable Mention. First thing off the rank is the brand new trailer for Wicked for Good. The final trailer before it gets released in November. Now, anyone who's been listening to this podcast the last few weeks, or if you've just come aboard, I am a huge Wicked fan. I love the stage production of the musical. I've seen it a bunch of times and I still get swept up in the magic and the emotion for it every single time, and I felt that they adapted it beautifully with part 1, with finishing on where the first act of the musical on stage finishes with Defying Gravity. So Wicked for Good is my most anticipated film for the remainder of the year ahead. I have so high expectations for this film, with especially how well the first one did, and I have no doubts that this film will exceed my expectation and provide me the emotional experience that I received with the first one. And when I watched the stage show, I have all the faith in John M. Chu, the director, and the legendary performances of Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, and Jonathan Bailey. Now, anyone who has not seen the stage production of Wicked and going into this film, it is definitely going to be a lot more of a darker tone in this one, because it definitely delves into the aftermath of what happened in the first one, with Elphaba coming to realization of her, or the wizard, not having real power, and she wanting to release and save all the animals and wanting to bring life back to Oz and things like that. So this is definitely going to be a different kind of experience, because the first Wicked film was very light and very much upbeat and very beautiful songs, and then the second part is going to be very much a lot more of a mature tone, a darker tone. And so I'm really intrigued to see how they're going to adapt the second act of the stage show, and what things are going to change and what they're going to bring forward, and just twist things about the regular story of the Wizard of Oz. So this is definitely, I think, after watching this trailer, it's definitely seeing that they are taking some liberties. This is definitely a little bit separate to the Wizard of Oz in some aspects of just showing a different side of the glass, a different mirror, or would you say, around how things are going, starting with Dorothy coming to Oz, which this film is just going to be definitely showcasing that story arc with Dorothy officially coming to Oz, and how that ties in with Elphaba and Glinda and Madame Marble and the Oz and Fiyero and Bock and Nessa Rose, and all those characters are all going to have their conclusion of their stories that was set up in the first film. And this trailer definitely was fantastic. It definitely gave me the feels. I definitely got emotional when I heard those beats of Thank Goodness, especially No Good Deed. No Good Deed is one of my favorite songs out of the entire show. Not just the first act, but the entire show. No Good Deed is definitely one of my songs I'm most looking forward to seeing. Plus, another of my favorite, I have to say, my top 3 favorite songs in the musical are in the second act. No Good Deed and As Long As You're Mine are two of my favorites. Number 3, well, Defying Gravity is always going to be on number 1. Like, everyone's going to have that emotional tie to Defying Gravity. I think that's everyone's go-to answer for the favorite song out of the show. So I kind of take that as an honorable mention in this kind of segment anyway. So that's aside of that. But my favorite songs from Wicked are always No Good Deed, As Long As You're Mine, and Dancing Through Life. They will be my 3 favorites. And the fact that I've got these 2 songs coming into this film, we're getting 2 original songs made for this film, still orchestrated and written by Stephen Schwartz. 1 for Elphaba, 1 for Glinda. So I'm very intrigued and excited to see how they work into the narrative of the show, into the movie, and just seeing where they actually are taking a lot of adaptation from the stage show and putting into film, and seeing where they're going to make some changes and some adaptations. So this trailer has definitely done its job. It has piqued my interest even further, if that was even possible. I love to see how they've shown you where Glinda is definitely taking on that role of the Wicked Witch of the West, but that she's definitely showing how she's taking on that role with people are perceiving her in one way, but she's not the what everyone perceives her to be. Everyone is blindly following what Madame Marble is showing, and Glinda is definitely still has the love for Glinda. She can see that friendship and that love is still there, but the relationship that she also has with Madame Marble, we're falling into that trap of wanting to be a spokesperson for the people of Oz and things like that, and the relationship between her and Fiora is being tested as well, and strained, and just seeing how things are going to progress. So I know how this film is going to end, obviously, but for anyone who has not seen the stage production, who's very intrigued to see how the story has a conclusion, I think that there are some people that's going to be very debatable how they think this story is going to end, because they think they're very much relating how the Wizard of Oz is and how that character of Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, is. And so people are going to have a different opinion about how this story is going to end and how it's going to change certain things. So I'm very intrigued how certain characters are going to have different arcs as well, especially when it comes to Nessa Rose, with how her character, what happens to her in the second act. I've already known before even the first one come out that they were going to make some changes and liberties with her character, with the actress playing her being actually disabled in a wheelchair. So they're going to make some changes from what the stage show presented to what this show is going to do. So I'm going very open-minded with how things are going to change in that aspect as well. So I'm very open-minded to see how things are going to change with that, and just how the scope of this film is going to be exceeded even further with what they provided us in the first one, not just with the grand of the musical numbers, but just the cinematography again, the stage production, the costume design, the makeup, and just the performances. I want to see how they can exceed even further, if they can, Ariana and Cynthia's relationship and the characters they provide to each other. And if they can bring it, which I know they can, I would not be surprised if we come to the 2026 Oscars that they will be nominated again for the same roles, which is have not been done in a very, very long time, where some actresses or actors have been nominated again for the same role. So I'm so intrigued to see if that happens again. Overall, I love this trailer. I thought it was fantastic. It has done its job. I'm even more excited to see this film, and I cannot wait to see what is put on the big screen. This is where films are meant to be seen, on the big screen, and musicals like this should be seen on the biggest screen possible, with the best sound, to get that immersive experience with the musical numbers and bringing into the world that is Oz. So that is my 2 cents on Wicked for Good. Now, delving back into Entertainment Honourable Mentions, we're going into another trailer that got released right recently as the recording of this podcast, and that is Greenland 2 Migration. This is a film that went straight to streaming a number of years ago on Amazon Prime, again called Greenland, starring Gerard Butler and Marina Baccarin, and it's a world-ending kind of disaster film, which it got rave reviews when the first one came out, which was fantastic to see. I thoroughly enjoyed the film. I am a sucker for all disaster movies, as long as they have a good narrative plot point as to reasons to why the world is ending. plus at the same time have great characters you can relate to and get behind, and I think they did it very well with the first one, and I'm really intrigued to see how they can go with this one. The scope is definitely exceeded with this one. They're definitely showing how things have progressed and showing you how changing certain things. They're definitely seeing the character developments between Baccarin and Gerard's characters being husband and wife, how they've got everyone's going under a bunker, and they've definitely not being able to escape to the to outside the bunker because of the environment's not livable. But then they've got this chance of going somewhere where they can live and things like that, which is a trope that's definitely been used countless times before. So there's no originality in that plot point, but any plot point that has been used before has each interpretation of being able to flip it on its head and provide new life to it, and showing how we can definitely see how we can bring a new interpretation to certain plot points. So I'm very open-minded to see where this trailer is and this film's going to provide us in that aspect. So there wasn't too much, like, they definitely showed a lot of what the plot point's going to be with this first trailer, which you don't usually see, because the first trailer is just supposed to give you an essence about bringing you back into the world and bringing you back into the characters. But they actually showed a lot of the story of what this movie is going to be, which I found is very, very surprising. But at the same time, it definitely showed where we can actually get to it as well. So I'm open-minded to see where this film is going to take us. I don't want to go into too much detail on it because I want everyone to experience it for themselves. But if you like the first one, I think it's going to show you a bit more of the same kind of feelings and the same sort of scope of it as well. I just hope that this film doesn't fall into regular disaster movie tropes where they focus a lot more too much on the disaster and not giving us a believable story of the reason as to why they've decided to come back to this world and make it a franchise as well. So I want to see where they can make the adjustments for the characters and see if it's actually a story that's believable when it comes to the natural disaster side of things, and not just go too far-fetched. Like, we always will go into these kind of films with it and putting on our suspenders of disbelief, but I just hope they don't rely on that too heavily. So overall, I enjoyed the trailer. I thought it was a great way of reintroducing us to this franchise, now officially a franchise. I will be rewatching the first one before going into the second one, so let us see what Gerard Butler, Morena Baccarin, the beautiful Morena Baccarin, and what this film has to offer, and hopefully it has the same sort of heart that the original did have. So that is Greenland 2 Migration. Okay, so now we are going to go into some reviews. I'm going to start off with a series that recently just finished up its run as of recording on this podcast, and that is Alien Earth Season 1. Now, I am a fan of the Alien franchise. I'm a fan of the Predator franchise, so the fact that these new franchises have been brought into brand new life. We've got Alien Romulus kickstarted back some life into this franchise, and now we're getting Alien Earth on Disney Plus here in Australia. Now, I have been really enjoying the series. I thought the series overall very, very entertaining. I found it enjoyable. It was gruesome. It was gory. It had a lot of aspects where it paid homage and very much had that feel of the first Alien with that sci-fi horror aspect. And then at certain points you had Aliens 2 vibes with the action and the blood and gore side of things, and definitely delved into the sci-fi aspect as well. So overall, I found it was good. I related a lot to, or not related to, but I definitely enjoyed the character of Alice, which the whole series was planted around. You had the main cyborg working for what would become the Wayland Corporation. I thought he was a very intriguing villain to get behind. But then you got Timothy Oliphant's android as well, like not knowing which side he was falling on as well. I thought that was a good kind of character point. There's a lot of points that he was getting around where you didn't know where he's going to be, what his end game was. And then you got all the kids, version of kids, around Alice as well, kind of showcasing their point, their narrative when it comes to being kids in grown-up bodies and learning to adjust to the new adult environment that they're in. And then you got the main villain. I won't say villain, but you got the pretty much you've got the main person who is sitting behind, who owns pretty much the company where everything is behind, which is the Cavalier, the Boyd Cavalier. So he was an intriguing villain to see. Like, he was kind of the same kind of point throughout it, and you can kind of think he's misogynistic, and his pig-headedness was an obnoxious kind of way as maintaining what he wanted was very much, I wouldn't say it was multi-dimensional, but you can definitely feel that there were certain aspects that he was very predictable, but other aspects you kind of go, where is he going to go, which is kind of intriguing to see. Now, I found that the entire series was great. I enjoyed it. I didn't think that they stuck the landing, though, because just as a forewarning to everyone listening, this is going to be a little bit of spoiler review towards the Alien Earth. So if you don't want to listen to it, please just fast forward a little bit. But it's not I would say it's a huge spoiler, but it's it is probably a big spoiler towards the end of it. So we've getting the introduction of Alice, and she's getting some awareness to the powers that she has. Like, you had a little hints of her being able to manipulate the technology when it comes to the camera feeds and things like that throughout it. But then by the time you get to the finale, she went from 0 to 100 very quickly, and she's able to control a lot more stuff that we didn't actually get too much of context and plot points throughout the series to show how she got to that point. She just all of a sudden, towards the end, towards the middle of this finale episode, she all of a sudden could just do so much that I didn't think that was giving much time to the audience to kind of catch up to speed with that. So I thought that was a kind of a short point, because the whole series banks on her and her being able to communicate with the xenomorphs. But they definitely showed some time with the xenomorphs and her communication with them, which is great. But then when it comes to the other side of things, when the technology side of things, all we kind of saw her do is manipulate the camera feeds and things like that. But all of a sudden, she can now fully operate the institute that she's a part of. The facility that she's included in, like where she's being held, and all of a sudden she has fully access to it, which we didn't actually see too much how she got to that point. It was very, 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 very quick, and so I found that was a bit of a plot point that was unutilized, which kind of fell short for me, because how they ended it was saying it's now to us. It's their control, which all of a sudden they've taken over this facility and proceeding on further. But what it was like, it felt like we missed a couple of episodes where we got to that point, which I felt let the show down towards the end. But overall, I felt it was a fantastic reintroduction to the world that is Alien and the Xenomorphs, and it's a good prequel series leading up to Alien and things like that, and how it's showcasing that the humankind already knew about the alien species way before the first Alien and things like that. So I found that was a very good way of showing us how things have progressed with the different companies and corporations trying to gain access to it and things like that. So they showed a little bit of political way of doing things, and how the cyborgs and different species coincides with things like that. So overall, I still gave this series a thumbs up, because even though they didn't stick to landing, all the episodes leading up to that were still fun and entertaining, and very much grotesque when it comes to the xenomorphs and the killings and things like that, and the horror aspect. So I found that overall I thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you're a fan of the Alien franchise, you would definitely enjoy Alien Earth. Alright, going into some movies. So there is 2 films I want to review on this podcast, in this episode today, and both are in light-hearted nature. Now, I'm going to start off with a Aussie film. Now, I have been trying to get out to watch this film for a couple of weeks now, and I have finally watched it. Now, this is a film called Kangaroo. Now, this is something that I've been trying to get out to watch. It shouldn't be mistaken for the film I reviewed on the podcast a while ago called Kangaroo Island. It's actually a completely different film, and this is actually based on a true story. Now, this is based off a gentleman by the name of Chris Masterman, who actually founded a kangaroo sanctuary and helps kangaroos being hurt or being nurtured in the wild, and kind of brings them back and nurtures them, and then puts them back into the wild, and has his old sanctuary, and founds this sanctuary with his which he founds himself, and then gets his wife and do all that kind of fun stuff. So it kind of tells that story. So it's a very simple story, and it's pretty much the whole thing is based around Chris Masterman, and it's also based around this young up-and-aspiring actress from Australia called Charlie. Now, Australia films have a certain stylistic way of being filmed and the way they be presented. This is no different. So they definitely had a lot of typical Australia tropes in the way it's being shot and the cinematography, the cinematography was breathtaking, showcasing a lot of Western Australia where the film is filmed, showcasing a lot of great Australian talent. You've got Deborah Mailman playing Rosie, which is plays Charlie's mum. You have Roy Billing in there. Of course, you've got the legend Ryan Kerr playing the titular character Chris Masterman, and then you've got Rachel House playing Jesse's, and then you also got Brooke Satchwell as Liz. Bridge Satchwell was in Packed at the Rafters. She was in Brother and Sisters, so she's very esteemed Australian actress as well. So had a lot of great Australian talent in this Australian iconic, or I want to say iconic, but Australian made film. So I found it was definitely a film, it's bred for an Australian audience, which I don't think it will get too much of an international audience because it's very much how it's shot, but it's definitely a beautiful film. It's got a beautiful story. It's got a beautiful heart, which is based solely around Charlie and Chris's relationship. I think that the young actress Lily Whitley, who played Charlie, did a great job for her debut. From what I understand, this is her debut feature role. She did the best job as she possibly could to bring this character to life. We felt the emotion behind the character, which the narrative is she recently lost her father, which she finds a connection through her father with the love that she has for kangaroos and the way they connect the kangaroos to the land and they are as a people and things like that. So it's a very beautiful, heartwarming point. There are some points where it falls into territory of being not the narrative side of ways a little bit when it comes to how it's edited and the turning points of it. So you kind of feel like it's being a little bit dragged on a little bit with some scenes not really being necessary, which makes it fall short a little bit. But overall, you definitely feel for the characters and how they all intertwined and the community that they have on this small country town, which is what you fall in love with the narrative of the story, because you just feel for what they're trying to accomplish within the characters themselves and how they all coincide with each other and how they perceive Chris's character when he first rocks up and how he starts at the beginning and how he ends at the end. You can definitely see the character arc evolve, which is what you want, and you can definitely believe it when you get to the end. And it's got a beautiful, sweet ending at the end, which is it is some point predictability, but you know how it's going to end, but you don't care because you like what's being seen, and it shows so beautifully of the animal that is Australia's national icon animal, which is the kangaroo. There is so many points in this film where your heart just melts watching these baby kangaroos and joeys, and you just absolutely fall in love with it. You've got a lot of the true story based throughout it, which makes it even more beautiful to see at the end. And like I said, it's nothing like it's absolutely massively inspiring, but it's just so beautiful to see a true simple story like this being about a regular guy who's comes from the city, about a certain mindset, and then he comes to this town, he meets the people, meets this young girl, he falls in love with the animals or the kangaroos and unwillingly, and then he just evolves from that. So I'm not going to go into too many spoilers on this because it's just been released, but if you want a nice, easy watching film about a true story, about accepting your past, accepting things can change at the blink of an eye, and just opening your heart to nature and the animals of the wildlife and things like that, then this is a film for you. Just switch off your brain and enjoy it. Like I said, there is some slow points throughout it. There are some pacing issues a little bit, which it has a little bit of a cons with it, but overall it is a beautiful film to watch and it's enjoyable. I didn't rate it as high as I did Kangaroo Island, but it's still something that I definitely would recommend people to sit down and watch. Overall, I gave the film 3 stars. So Nick gave a thumbs up. So it's reached that benchmark for me, and I would recommend it for somebody who wants to support Aussie films, which is what we're all here for in Australia. We want to support Australian films. We don't get enough coverage out there on the worldwide market. So as much as time we can get onto giving Australia films their voice, then we should be able to give them to them. And this is another film that should be given that voice. So go out and see it if you can. It still is on the theaters as recording of this podcast. And if you can get out to see it, please do so. But if you can't, make some time when you get home and when it comes out in streaming, and sit down and watch it, and just relish in the beauty of Australia and Western Australia and the wildlife that is kangaroos. Okay, now going into my last review. We're changing tactics a little bit. We're still going into the heartfelt and innocence nature of it, and we're going into a Disney TV movie, original film, called Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires. Now, a few weeks ago, I reviewed the first Zombies, and in that time, I've watched 2, I watched 3, and now I've watched 4. Now, with each installment, I found these films, I've gotten better and better. They've matured. They've given a lot more character points with a character development with the characters of Zed and Addison. The songs are definitely getting a lot more better with each installment, along with all the cinematography and the choreography of the dancing and the things like that. So, after watching number 3, I found number 3 was definitely the best out of all of them. And when it comes to the narrative of the plot, the character development, the songs, and all that kind of fun stuff. So I had a sort of expectation going into 4 that going, well, okay, so now we're in the generation that we are. We're in the 2025s, and how things have progressed and grown. How are they going to exceed, raise the bar when it comes to this one? And I think I've been reading some things about this film online. It's pretty much people are getting mixed opinions about it. I think I'm in the minority. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this installment in the franchise of Zombies. I personally think this is the best out of the 4. I rate this higher. Pretty much how I do it. Personally, I'll go from 4 down. So 4, 3, 2, 1. That's how I rank these films. I think this is number 4. I think it's got one of the easier. All 4 films have an easy plot point. They're easy to follow films and not there to be massive, big narrative Shakespeare or anything like that. They're easy to, because they are based, targeted towards a young teen audience, which I have a soft spot for those kind of films because I grew up on watching High School Musical and watching these kind of films. So I have a soft spot for them. So I don't care. I really don't care what opinions people about it, because I actually thoroughly enjoy it. It brings me nostalgia value watching these types of films. The songs are catchy and fulfilling, and they make you feel warmth, and you make you believe in the magic of the world and believing in that things are brighter on the other side as long as you have someone that you can rely on, and you can just feel that innocence of love and things like that. And these films definitely provide them to you, and this one just showed it. And if you didn't fall in love with Addison and Zed more, you did it even more in this one. You love those 2 characters, and you love them being together, and you just love their relationship. And introductions of new characters is what happens with each one of these installments. And I think that this one just provided more characters and expansion of the world, which is what you need with each installment. You want to expand the world. You want to expand to see what they can bring to the whole plot of the film, and just seeing what they can deliver and what they can showcase in their talent. Now, I found that the songs in this one were the best of the franchise. Yes, I think each film leading up to this one has at least 1, maybe 2 songs that are kind of cool and kind of catchy. Like in the first movie, you had Someday, which is a beautiful film, and then you got number two. I'm not too sure what number two had, but then you got number three is Ain't No Doubt About It, which I personally is one of my favorites. But then you got this one, and I found that this film had a lot, at least 3 or 4 songs that were great. Like I found them so catchy and so entertaining to listen to. Like you've got the place to be, Don't Mess With Us, Show the World, Appraisal of Ain't No Doubt About It, and Someday. You've got the duet between the two new characters. So you've got a New Zealand actor by the name of Malachi Boughton, and then you've got a new up-and-coming actress of Freya Sky joining the cast. This film is actually shot fully in New Zealand, which you can definitely tell. Between the other 3 films, you can tell that they're definitely shot on a backlot or studio or in those kind of film. But this one, you can definitely feel that they've taken that away and shot on locations. And New Zealand is just absolutely beautiful and picturesque. Like New Zealand is its own entity. Like it's so gorgeous to look at and beautiful. And the fact that they showcased it with this film, they just elevated this film and the franchise to a whole other level. So I thoroughly enjoyed this installment. I found that the characters were ones you can fall in love with. You like this. Completely likable straight away with both Victor and Nova. Zed and Addison are the ones you just latch onto because they're familiar and you love their dynamic. You had the return cast members of which you've got. I'm going to see here. I'm going to jump onto here. You got a whole bunch of range of new cast, but then you got returning cast members bringing some new life to it as well. So it's just the overall premise of it is just the whole you got new factions being introduced when it comes to new stones being brought to Earth, and you got the Daywalkers and you got the vampires, and you've got the showcasing that there are sworn enemies, which is a trope that's been used in this franchise. It's a very common trope that's been used throughout the entire thing. You got 2 different peoples that are hated each other, but through its core, you got to learn to work together, and you realize that you don't have that much similar to each other, and you got to learn to respect each other, and you realize that you can actually work together and showcase the brilliance and the brilliance that they have towards each other, and they can actually work together and be one big faction and one big people as well, which is very stereotypically what zombies and a lot of Disney films are. So I thought that the whole concept was great. The cinematography was definitely shot very differently with being shooting on location in New Zealand. I felt some of the choreography on this one was way elevated than the other zombies movies. Like all the dance numbers were fantastically done, all brilliantly performed by all the actors. Some great little comedy spits done by Zed. Like I feel like I can relate to Zed a lot, and he can just bring so great comedic timing to it, and just his great voice and dancing. And Addison is just Meg Donnelly is beautiful as always. She can bring the beautiful heart, and the love she has for Zed is just on display wholeheartedly, and you can believe it as well. So this film is just so sweet to watch and so captivating to watch. Like it's a film, like I personally think like High School Musical was a franchise I always grew up with, and I found that High School Musical 3 is my personal favorite. I watch High School Musical 3 at least once a year, and I find that Zombies 4 is going to be adding on to that list. I can watch Zombies 4 on at least once or twice a year. It's just something you can put on. It's easy to watch. The songs are catchy. You can sing along to them, and it's so easy to watch. Yes, some of the young actors, you can tell they're starting to get their groove being in a Disney film, so some of the acting is a little bit wooden and forced at times, but you understand that it is a Disney TV original movie, so you kind of get that expectation on it. So once you get that side of your brain out of it, you can just delve into the world that is zombies, and you can enjoy it. And I just found it such an enjoyable film to watch, and I would recommend, if you've liked the other zombie films, you would enjoy it. If you like the Descendants movies, you would enjoy it. That's another franchise I've grown to love as well. I love the Descendants movies. We are getting a Descendants 5, which is just wrapped production, so we should be getting that shortly. And the way this film leads off, this is definitely leads up to Zombies 5, with the torch pretty much being passed on to the characters of Victor and Nova. So I'm really hoping to see where they go with these characters and the expansion of the Zombies world. But Zombies is Addison and Zed. If you bring, I know they're passing on the torch to Victor and Nova, but you cannot have a zombie movies without those two. If they don't have an appearance or don't have some sort of essence or presence within the next one, then I feel that it's going to leave a lot of people falling short of what the franchise is, because it is definitely around. Even though how they ended the film is very much showcasing that they are moving on to the next stage of their lives, they need to have them in there as some aspect, because the franchise is them. So beautiful film. I loved it wholeheartedly, and I would recommend it. And if anyone's having a bad day or it just needs a pick-me-up, I find musicals are that remedy for a lot of people. I find if you're having a hard day and you're struggling with things mentally or anything like that, then musicals is a sure way of bringing a spark back into your heart and into your mind, and just letting go of a lot of things and just open your heart and your mind and your voice to a musical, which is getting up and singing about it, even if you know you can't sing. Being in your home environment and being able to just delve into the world of a musical is something that it's very special, and I think that Zombies Falls can provide that to you. I find that a lot of musicals can provide that by the means of The Greatest Showman. You've got High School Musical, of course. You've got Descendants. You've got I know a certain beautiful lady who's going to go ha ha when they hear this, but I also believe that Mamma Mia is a great musical that you can just really enjoy the story and the music. Coming up in future episodes, I think I'm going to be doing what's the word? I'm going to do a theme for a month where I'm going to be delving into certain themes about what's going to be the theme for that month. Like, it might be like coming into December, it's going to be a Christmas theme, so we're going to be reviewing a lot of Christmas movies and things like that. And I think, please let me know in the comments below if you think it's a good idea. But I think we're going to do a theme one month where we're going to delve into movie musicals and kind of give our take about them. So I could go back and rewatch High School Musical 3 and giving a review on the podcast. I could go back and watch The Greatest Showman. I could watch To a Certain Lady's Pleasure. I've never actually sat down and watched Mamma Mia 1 or 2, so I could sit down and watch them and give my opinions about that. And if anyone has any other musicals that they think that I might enjoy within that realm that I could go into, then I'm happy to do that. So please let me know if you think a theme for a month of going into movie musicals is one that you think I should do, because musicals is something that we can bring light. But we need a lot more light in this world, because it is a lot of things are dark. So going into the fantasy and the world of musicals can make things a little bit brighter. So let's just see what everybody thinks about that. But thinking about tracking back to Zombies 4, I would wholeheartedly love this film. I thought it was fantastic. I gave this film 4 stars. I could have got a bit higher, but it is a Disney original TV movie, so I saw some little bit of errors and cons in certain parts of the acting and certain things like that, which is, like I said, it's expected, being up and coming actresses and actors and things like that. But I could have rated this maybe a 4.5, but I didn't want to go that high just for that. But I knocked it off a star just due to the fact of some of the plot, the narrative and the script and things like that. But overall, a fun time to watch. Sit down and enjoy. You can watch it with kids and have a fun time to watch it. So that is Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires. Again, that was a non-spoiler review. I didn't want to go into any narrative plot points or go into too many details, because I want everyone to experience it as their own. That wraps up this episode of Reece's Reviews, brought to us by My Geek Culture. Thank you very much for joining on this journey. I really appreciate your time. If you have any comments or any feedback or any things you'd like us to review in the future, please leave those via the means of posting them on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. There is going to be a way you can send emails and feedback and suggestions through which the legend will put on our show notes. So please feel free to do so, and please be kind to yourself, be well, and as always, may the Force be with you.